Well, good evening, Waxahachie ISD. It's our first town hall for this spring semester. Sorry, I'm getting some feedback on my microphone, so I'm going to try to probably stay away from the other microphones. My name is David Avert. I'm the acting superintendent for Waxahachie ISD, and I have with me tonight, I have our chief of police, Joe Weiser, for Waxahachie PD. I have Thomas Griffith, who is emergency management director, and I have Lieutenant Chris Dickinson, who is our lieutenant for our SRO program for Waxahachie ISD. And so we're going to talk about safety and security, and we're also going to start the discussions on rezoning of our district for the opening of our second comprehensive high school, which is Waxahachie Creek High School, which will open in fall of 2027. So I'm going to go ahead and get us started through our presentation. And we are Facebook Live, so if we do get some questions, maybe we'll try to answer those. Have our PR folks are going to be looking and shooting them to us if we need to. So, biggest part of safety and security in our district. You know, we have officers at every one of our campuses. We'll talk about that a little bit. But first off, I want to talk about our SRO program. We have 6 SROs, and Lieutenant Dickinson is head of that. An SRO stands for School Resource Officer, and school resource officers are officers that are stationed on a campus. We have 2 of them at Waxahachie High School, 1 at each of our junior highs, and then Lieutenant Dickinson offices out of central office, and he's all over the district. School resource officers do get specialized training to be a school resource officer. And Chief, can you talk a little bit about what's different about school resource officer?
So the job description itself certainly is specific to enforcing the laws on the school, and they have to receive certain training every year to meet the mandates for that type of work. As you said, we have 6 here. Lieutenant Dickinson is overseeing them. Those are sworn police officers who are employed by the city of Waxahachie, and they're attached to the school districts through our partnership. Let me start off too by saying that thank you for having us here tonight. Yes, I'm excited about being here to talk about the most important thing, and that's the security of those campuses and the protection of our greatest resource, the students.
Yes, sir. You know, it's not, we talk about what the school resource officers do as far as they keep us safe, but they're also in the hallways every day with our kids at our secondary campuses, and the relationships that they build with them are critical. You know, when they have good relationships with our school resource officers, our students, they will come and they'll talk to them and they'll tell them, you know, things that may be going on. So that's important too. So in addition to our school resource officers, we have a school marshal program, and this allows us to have an armed marshal at every one of our campuses. We have 27 armed school marshals, so that's at least 1 at every campus. We have multiple school marshals that are stationed at our high school because it's a very large campus, almost 500,000 square feet and 3,000 students and well over 100 acres of a complex there. We have, this is the first year, our school marshals have always had a uniform, but this is the first year that we've had them to be able to open carry. And that means they can carry their sidearm outside. It doesn't have to be concealed. That was the result of an opinion from our Attorney General that we got, I believe it was around last January. But there was a lot of work that went into that. And so, Chief, you want to talk about a little bit about what we had to do as far as to get our marshals trained for that?
Sure. We were excited about this change in the interpretation of the law that allowed those school marshals to be outwardly carrying. But when you take on an adventure like that and you're used to, those marshals were armed previously, but they were concealed, and by design, the intent was for you to not know that they were armed. Now we feel like our forces have grown exponentially with having those marshals out there. But what we wanted to do is, at that same time, the weapons that they carried previously weren't conducive to the outward carry. So the school district was kind enough to purchase them the necessary equipment that they needed, and then Waxahachie was proud to provide the training. We, as it worked out, we had just transitioned to a new weapon system and had gone through that process, so the timing couldn't have been any better on that. And we brought those marshals in, and I believe, Lieutenant, wasn't it about 40 hours total for those training-wise, weapons retention, and then also to familiarize themselves with that new weapon system.
Double that, it was 80 hours.
80 hours, okay, I stand corrected. But we were proud to do that. It really was the starting point for us. Not to say that we hadn't trained with the Marshals in some capacity, but we hit high gear with that, and it taught us a lot about our capability there, where Waxahachie PD is, and we're looking forward to the future where we're going to do a lot more of that kind of training.
One of the things one of the results of the new uniform for our school marshals is that they're much more visible
Yes.
to our Waxahachie PD partners and any other law enforcement actually that may have to come into on our campuses. They'll be able to identify quickly who the school marshal is based on that uniform that they have on, and they're badged, and it's very clear that they are a school marshal. It says so on the back of their vest.
Highly trained, getting training all the time. So the school district's in a good place for on-campus security.
One of the interesting facts about this, a lot of our school marshals are retired law enforcement.
Yeah.
We've got folks, retired Dallas SWAT. We've got retired air marshals on there, retired military. So
Top quality.
These are folks that have had high quality training before they even came to us. So safety and security on campus. We do have several proactive measures. We do conduct metal detector searches regularly, not necessarily every day. We don't do that every day as part of entry to our buildings. That's not what we do. But we do those checks randomly. We have a system called Tip 411, which is an anonymous tip system that our students can use, our community can use, our parents can use, so they can reach out to us and tell us if something's going on that we need to know about. I can tell you that we work with Waxahachie PD, especially if it's after hours or on the weekends, and we get a tip that somebody may be in need of intervention, and I'll contact Chris, and he'll contact patrol, and we'll get out there and check on folks. So when we get those kind of things, we act on them, and of course they go to administrators in the district and all across all campuses too.
One of the benefits that we are fortunate to have here is both the city of Waxahachie, therefore the Waxahachie Police Department and the school district share the same provider for information technology. And that has proven extremely effective and efficient for us. Those guys jump in and are able to give us the necessary technology to search some of these things that oftentimes are where the threats emanate from: online, social media, and things like that.
One of the bullets up there is emergency management, and we're lucky to have Thomas Griffith with us right now to talk about emergency management. And we've partnered with his office several times to do different things in the district. We'll talk about some of the drills and stuff we do.
Yeah, so it's our job to kind of plan for the worst case scenario, and so we've been working with the school district very closely, and we look at those bad situations that have happened, and I'll throw out the name Uvalde, and so we want to learn lessons from them and incorporate it in our planning and our process to be prepared. And so we, all of our officers, all of our firefighters have all gone through alert air training where we can respond to a bad situation. We've involved the ambulance company. Every year we take a campus and do a reunification drill. So when we do that, we move all of the students and go through a process of reuniting them with their parents. We also have done active shooter drills where we have utilized some of the students as actors and went through the whole process, even transported the fake injured patients to the hospital and had the hospital involved in that process so that we know all the communication channels, everybody's on the same page, and we're all working on one sheet of music so that if something were to ever really happen bad, we are very prepared.
Thomas is giving you the 25 words or less there and being somewhat modest. During those drills, his team from the emergency management with Donna and Six and May and Megan Womack has done an outstanding job for us over the last 4 years and has really elevated the level of professionalism that's provided to the training and those training drills. We would not be where we're at today without emergency management's help in that regard, and the production that is, and those guys do a marvelous job.
Thank you. You know, I failed to mention, we started out, you know, we did kind of a crawl, walk, run type training. And so we started out with just the basic training, and then we move into tabletops. And we've done tabletops with everybody. We've done 50, 75 tabletops. And we have a big table with maps of the schools, and we bring all the officers in, and we just talk about, okay, what if this happens? What if this happens? And we run them through all the scenarios, and what radio channels are you going to use, and just all the very minute details that we try to pick apart. And then we move into the full-scale exercises, which help us with that learning, you know, muscle memory.
And both those tabletop exercises and the live drills involve not only police and fire, but EMS, school staff as well, faculty, and also city, state, and local officials are present at those. So we're got the entire spectrum there, all for the intent of trying to do everything we can to keep these campuses safe and be at the ready when we have to respond to a threat.
The last thing on this slide I'll talk about is safety audits. Another one of the issues that came, or the strategies that came from the Uvalde incident is these safety audits that TEA conducts on our campuses, where they'll let us know that they're coming in a particular month, but they don't tell us the day and they don't tell us where. The TEA auditor will show up and try to gain access into our campuses, and by going through the doors, seeing if somebody will let them in, and we've gone through now. We're in our third iteration of that. And we believe, and we know that we're getting better every time. In fact, the last few times we've had any safety auditor come on campus, we've had no findings. They haven't been able to gain entry into our campuses, and they've been directed when we notice them. They've been directed to the office like they're supposed to, and they go through their checks with us, and we've had no findings the last several times that we've had them in there, and so we're happy about that. And you know, we laugh about this as when we get together, and I'm in the room with law enforcement, and they always laugh at me as the school person, because they're like, you know, y'all want to be perfect every time, and y'all don't want to make mistakes, and the law enforcement and the emergency management folks are like, no, we like to see where we don't do well, so we can fix it next time, we can learn from it, and we're starting to get that mindset with us too, but it's still hard to fail, right? We don't want to fail. So obviously we have to conduct drills on campus. We have to conduct fire drills and evacuation drills. We have to conduct shelter-in-place drills 2 times a year. We have to conduct lockdown drills 2 times a year. And like Thomas said, we've been conducting reunification drills in our district for the last few years. And what's interesting about that is our district was chosen for what's called a district vulnerability audit. Randomly chosen. I met with a gentleman from TEA actually yesterday, and we were talking to him about the fact that we've conducted a reunification drill. We've conducted 4 of them, and he was really shocked and said, wow, you know, that's a big deal, because most districts he's been to maybe have done 1. The fact that we've done 4 of them, and the fact that we did a full-scale secondary campus last semester was really good. Anything you want to talk about that as far as the reunification drill piece?
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that, and I talk to people from other school districts, and I always tell them, if you get an opportunity, come and watch Waxahachie do it, because you guys always put on a master's class about how to do that. I'm amazed at how well the school district responds to that, and how quick they are, and how they can process students and parents, and it's always very caring, always worried about how the students are taken care of, how the parents are taken care of. So I'm just really impressed with the job that you guys have done, and I brag about you guys all the time, and you know, inviting other school districts. Ben, you need to come and see this if you want to see how it's done.
and we're just getting started with that. Thomas will tell you that there's a graduated process in place that are planned out for the years to come, and we're just getting started.
Okay, so we kind of mentioned this earlier. Thomas talked about it, but you know, this past summer we had a large-scale active shooter drill on our campus, and what we were focused on is the immediate aftermath of that. So when we talk about response to active shooting, a lot of times we talk about stopping the bad guy. Well, this drill was really about stopping or treating the people that may be hurt.
Yeah, so what we did was we've actually taken that situation, a active shooter situation, and broken it down into pieces. So there's that piece that happens immediately when the law enforcement is going in and taking down the bad guy. So that's step one, and we train and tabletop and go over that. And then, so the next phase to that is, now what do we do? Now the bad guy's down and we may have injuries there. How well do we get those injured folks out of that school and to a hospital? And so that's what that drill was all about. And you can see the picture on the far right at the bottom. That's actually our local hospital and a surgeon there taking in patients. And so we involved all of them in that process. The next steps would be we go from that to managing the crime scene, and then of course every year we do our reunification drill. So those are the 4 steps that we practice on. So how can you help us, parents and community members? Well, the first thing, we hope that you subscribe to our district communication methods. We're at Parent Square, that you follow us on social media, that you follow our WISD website. The second thing is know what your kids are bringing to school. And you know, just to be frank and honest, if your child has a BB gun that looks like a real gun, you know, make sure that they don't bring that to school. That can be exceptionally dangerous for that child, and at the worst case scenario, and can result in some really significant discipline just at the mild part of it to bring something like that to school. So be aware, you know what your kids are bringing into school and putting in their backpacks. If you see something, say something. We have our tip 411. Obviously, you can call our school office. You can call the police, right?
Yeah. Nothing worse than not reporting it. Try to figure out for you what's the fastest possible way. On occasion, we'll have a student. We would never tell a student not to call a parent, but sometimes in the past, when they call a parent first, and there was officers on campus, teachers on campus, faculty on campus, that we could have got to that situation a little quicker. So maybe work with your student about what is the quickest and most expeditious way to report those kind of crimes, because in that instance, speed is of the paramount importance.
Absolutely. And then last thing, if there's a doubt, reach out to us. If you think something, we would much rather investigate a situation and it turn out to be not real, or turn out to be something that's been a viral Instagram post that's maybe started in another state, but we see it comes to Waxahachie and we see it here. That happens very frequently, unfortunately, but we really would rather take the time to look into it and clear it and make sure that it's not a real threat than not look into it. I mean, I know it does take time, it does take energy, but it is worth the time and energy. So if reach out to us and let us know. I don't know if you have anything you want to add on that, Chris, but.
I would just add, with the social media stuff, and we see this a lot, is the kids get it on their social media and they reshare it. And they don't have any malicious intent when they do it, but by sharing it, it's now they've committed a criminal offense. So educate your kids, tell your kids, go to law enforcement first, or go to the parents, hey, and then come straight to the police department. Don't share that and share it and share it, because that's where we get in that situation where now it's spread all across the country, and what started as a hoax in Kentucky is now a full-scale deal going on in Waxahachie, and it creates a lot of panic. And on the back end, a lot of resources are tied up, and we're going to prosecute those. The chief's been real clear. If there's a charge and the kids are doing it, we're going to prosecute it. And so something that your kids aren't meaning to do, they could end up with.
Yeah, yeah. It can be serious, and you know, the older the kiddos get in school, the more serious it could be. I mean, it could really be something that follows them for a long time with the rest of their lives.
And this is something we've pushed out to the kids. I know the high school does a good job of trying to educate the kids. Don't share it, don't share it. It still happens. It still happens. So help us out. That's how you can help us out, is be involved with your kids. Know what they're looking at on social media. Know what they have in their room that they're taking to school. Maybe save them some heartache down the road, school discipline, even criminal charges, just by being involved.
Fortunately, we live in a time where we have to look at every post as the possibility of an actual threat. We don't have the luxury of not looking at each and every one of them.
Right. Yeah, and you know, I know sometimes it can almost feel like we overreact, but we'd rather do that than underreact or not react. We're gonna take it seriously and check it out. That's what we're gonna do, because we're gonna make sure we're safe. Are there any questions that have come up? No? Okay. All right, I'm going to give a little construction update for the folks out there. So we have opened 2 campuses this fall, this school year. Jimmy Ray Elementary opened in August, a very quick build. I think it was 14 months from start to finish. Mr. Mott's in the back nodding his head. He said, "Don't ever do that to me again." But 14 months from start to finish on Jimmy Ray Elementary, and it's been running and going since August. We opened new Wildman Steam right out there across from Waxahachie High School on Business 287 in January. So like a week and a half ago, we opened it up. So exciting times at Waxahachie ISD. You know, you could work a career in education and not open a new building. You could, and the fact that we've seen over the past decade or so several new campuses that come on board in Waxahachie. In the last 5 years that I've been here, we've had 3 new campuses open. We've had Simpson and now Jimmy Ray and Wildman, and we have broken ground on Waxahachie Creek, and I'll get to that in a minute. But those buildings are complete. They're up and running, and you know, we're just about completely punch listed out at Jimmy Ray. We did a couple little things over the Christmas break that needed to be worked on, and then Wildman is occupied by kids and teachers, and they're just finishing up little finishing touches there that they need to if there's a punch list item. But for the most part, those buildings are complete. Also, glad to say that both construction projects did come in on time, and they did come in under budget, and that does not mean that we didn't do for those buildings what we said we were going to do. We were able to build them and come in a little bit under what the projected budget was for that. So that was a good thing. We do have 3 other active construction sites going on at our junior highs. Just a little bit background, you know, for a long time, our elementary schools really had a model of about 600 or so students as being kind of on the large side of elementaries. We have since changed our model to an 800 student elementary, a 1,200 student junior high, and our current Waxahachie High School is at about 3,200 kids, and Waxahachie Creek will be built with the same capacity. So 800, 1,200, 3,200 is really the new model in Waxahachie's for sizes of campuses. So in saying that, our junior high capacity, we're increasing those to 1,200, which means we're doing some construction at Howard, Howard is getting some construction projects there to increase the size of its cafeteria. The cafeteria is not big enough to serve 1,200 students. Also, classroom-wise, it had enough classrooms. However, those classrooms, a lot of them are being used for specialized programs. And so we're actually adding some special program size rooms that will allow us to then recoup that classroom space that's now being occupied by some other specialized classrooms. So to get that campus's capacity up to 1,200. Also doing some work in their band hall. Howard's band hall was the smallest of the band halls in the junior high, in our junior high, so we're adding to that. Finley Junior High, if you've driven down Brown Street, I mean, you can't miss it. It is getting some work done, okay? That building was opened in 1985. Again, classroom-wise, the classroom space is adequate in size. However, areas that need to be worked on there to get to 1,200 administratively, that administrative suite was inadequate as far as that size, so we're having to add. That's what they're adding on to the front of the building. With that, they're going to expand its library. When we talk about a building, the core of the building, the library, the admin suite, the library, and the cafeteria where people eat, that's your core, right? And so there's work on over the summer. There's going to be work in that library, open that up. They're going to renovate the cafeteria space where students eat. And as you can imagine, a building that was built in 1985 probably needed a new kitchen, right? If you bought a house that was built in 1985, I bet you've put some new appliances in there. Well, the kitchen at Finley needed significant work. It was way undersized for the size of that building. And so we actually started that work over the Christmas holidays. So significant work is going on at Finley right now, both inside and outside. And Coleman Junior High, where we're standing in the current Coleman building. However, across the street, the Hancock building, where Global High School is currently located, is undergoing a significant addition. We did some remodel in that building over the summer with their library and cafeteria, expanded the size of that cafeteria. That building was built for about 750 kids. It will have now room for 1,200, and that's why we had to expand the cafeteria. And right now, so they're working on classroom addition, a storm shelter, because we increased the capacity of that building significantly. So there's a storm shelter there. It'll be in a classroom wing, and we added a band hall space. So if you've gone to HEB, right across the street from us over there, you've seen significant construction going on. So, and those projects are in full swing, and we expect all of them to be completed by this August. And also, after the end of this school year, Global High School, which is currently in the Hancock building, will move over to its original site, and its forever home over there is the Wildman building, the original T.C. Wildman building on 2nd Street. And so over this semester and into the summer, we're going to be doing some work there to make it a high school again, because it's been an elementary school for several years. Okay. Waxahachie Creek High School. This is a big ticket item, of course. We did break ground on this building on December 3rd. Our designs were completed and submitted to our general contractor Pogue on December 20th. So that part of it has been completed. Everybody asks the question, what's their mascot going to be? What's their colors going to be? We have started that process, but we haven't landed on that yet. Our architects, VLK, are working with us and working with our community and our students to help kind of guide that process. And our students are going to have a lot of input on that, because this year's 6th graders will be the first group of kids that will go to that school as freshmen. So we're going to get their input as well. And we know, just a reminder, where Waxahachie Creek is. Waxahachie Creek High School is going to be south of town, south of the Senior Citizen Center, kind of between Highway 77 and Old Italy Road. So if you go down south on 35 and you see the Waxahachie Crossing Bridge, due east of that is where Waxahachie Creek High School will be. We have started some minor grading out there, I believe, and that should pick up pretty quick. So hope to start really working on the site as we get closer to this spring. It will be a different design than our current Waxahachie High School, and I have a picture of a floor plan up here. This is really what a pretty good look at what Waxahachie Creek High School will look like. And just kind of color-coded wise, we're at the very top, the green section, that's athletics. So that's there's an indoor practice just like we have at WHS, practice gyms, and basketball competition arena. The pink color area, that's fine arts, where we have an auditorium, and band halls, and art classrooms, and black box theater, and choir. I guess that'd be kind of a salmon color in the middle. That's the large square area is the cafeteria, and the kind of rectangle area to the right of that is the actual kitchen. Across from that, in that kind of a light blue color, that's our CTE wing, and this is a 2-story building, so there's CTE classrooms top and bottom of that. In the yellow in the middle, that's the library area, and then there's a lecture hall that you really can't hardly see it from here, but there's a lecture hall there. The blue L shapes and the bottom and the L-shaped area, that blue, those are in the dark blue. That's your traditional core classroom space, or your language arts, social studies, math, and then the dark blue in the middle, those are science labs. So the science labs will be there, and then the orange right there in the core of the building, that's the administrative offices. Principals and assistant principals downstairs, counselors, and different functions related to that, registrar and stuff upstairs. And then there's a purple area there that is some of our special programs, specifically for special education classes, life skills and stuff like that. So that's a pretty good look of what Waxahachie Creek High School. Oh, and the top green area, that's going to be that's field house for football program on that campus. So everything will be housed out there on that site. So one of the things that we get questions of, what does a comprehensive high school mean? Well, comprehensive means all the things, right? This high school, like Waxahachie High School, will have athletics, all the same athletic teams, fine arts, band, choir, theater, dance, cheer, and CTE, career and technology education. I did hear a rumor the other day that we won't have any CTE at Waxahachie Creek. That is not true. In fact, our CTE programs will be, for the most part, equal or the same at Creek and WHS. There's going to be a few differences. For example, we're not going to have a greenhouse at Waxahachie Creek High School. We will have floral design. So there will be some plant science, but it'll be specifically on the floral side, not necessarily on the growing and the horticulture side, because we're not building a greenhouse there. But one thing we will have at Creek that we don't have at WHS will be a paint booth. That can be shared between the two campuses. So if our welding teachers want to, they build a trailer and paint, they'll have a paint booth out there. We're not going to duplicate the large culinary arts space that we have at WHS currently. However, we are going to have what's a more traditional family consumer science lab where students can still learn food science, nutrition, those kind of things, and like more traditional family consumer science classroom lab. Okay, so last thing we wanted to talk about really is we're getting to the point where we've got to start thinking about what the zones are going to look like for Waxahachie Creek and Waxahachie High School. We know that that's going to be a big shift in this community. The map that we have on our slide here is not a rezoning map for this. That is our current zone map. Okay, so that's how our district is currently zoned. And the legend on the side is the different colors for the different elementary school zones. So that is our current elementary school zoning map. So what are our priorities for rezoning? Number one, we want to make these decisions in a timely manner so we can communicate to parents and families, where your kiddos will be zoned to go to school. Number two, we really want to strive for balance. What we don't want to create is old Waxahachie, new Waxahachie, as far as neighborhoods are concerned, or some other type of imbalance on the campuses, maybe an economic difference, for those campuses. We want to do our very best to have a balance for these two schools. So we don't want to create imbalance right off the bat. And we would like, of course, for these two campuses to be in different UIL districts for as long as possible. And we believe that's going to be a natural thing because of the size of the campuses, because we're going to start with Creek High School. We're not going to start 9 through 12. We have said all along we don't want to tell a rising senior that, oh yeah, I know you've been a Waxahachie Indian your whole life, and now you're going to be a Creek, whatever the mascot is, for your senior year. We just don't believe that's the right thing to do to kids. So we want to we will phase in grade levels and grow this school grade levels up. Preliminarily, we're thinking we'll open 9 and 10. So there may be some freshmen that will say, okay, next year you will be zoned to Creek, but that would be the where we would hopefully cut that off. It could just be 9 and then grow 9, 10, 9, 10, 11, 9, 10, 11, 12 over 4 years. But right now we're thinking 9, 10. That's our early thoughts on that. So the very last thing, we know this is an important topic, and we want your feedback. We really do. There's a QR code on this slide. I believe it's available for folks to scan. There's just a few short questions on there. We want to know what's important to you about zoning, what's important to you related to grade levels and starting there for maybe, or is it a specific neighborhood? We don't know, but we want to hear from you, our community on this, and we really mean it. We really want your feedback. So, any questions come across? No? Okay. Well, I want to say thank you to Chief Weiser. Thank you to Mr. Griffith, and thank you to Lieutenant Dickinson for being here with me tonight. We will have another town hall next Tuesday, same time, 6 p.m., same place here at the FAC here at the Coleman campus. If you couldn't join us in person and you'd like to come and you have a question you want to ask in person, please do. We also we will have an interpreter here in case if you need to ask that question in Spanish. Well, you can do that too. Probably didn't understand what I said right then, but that's probably not the best way to say it. But we'll have a Spanish interpreter here if that's what you need. So we invite you to come back out and stay tuned for updates as we move through this spring semester. Thank you. Yes, sir.